just start with prayer. We'll retroactively bless the food for those who've already started digesting it, and have fun. We'll have breaks throughout. I think we can wrap this up and get you home before 2. I'm long-winded, so if I find myself staying on one topic too long, you have full permission to say, we've been talking about bathroom policy for 45 minutes. I think we got it. Bathroom policy is very important. And I am recording it, so if you do doze off, it's going to be for those who can't attend, but I can get it to you as well. And a lot of our training, especially policies and procedures, is online. So if you're like, oh, I missed that detail about fire safety, and then get a chance to ask it, the URL is on the training sheet, so we'll go back to it. Yeah, let's pray. Yeah, Lord God, maker of the universe, you're so smart. Thank you that you designed each one of us here to live this town, this time in history, and be a part of this church family. You're good. It's a setup. So, Father, I just ask that all of our hearts would be tensioned towards your attention on us, that we're not here by chance, but by your design. Would you let us settle in as your sons and daughters as you teach us and instruct us on how do we care for and disciple kiddos and equip their parents to do the same. We love you, Lord. We really do. Help us love you more. In the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, guys. Well, pull out your phones. If you don't have my phone number, I'm going to give it to you. We're a small enough church where you guys can call, text, or email me anytime, okay? You guys have direct link to me. So if you don't have my number and you're ready to get it, I'm going to give it to you now. Area code 209-918-1512. Also in your folder is a contact list of all of our crew guides, crew leaders. So we'll go over that a little later. But again, that's area code 209-918-1512. And I figured we would start our time, just do a little reflection on the scriptures. And I'm going to pull out our Seek and Explore Bible. For those of you who haven't seen this Bible yet, we have sent every family that is in the BC, has a kid in the BC Explorer program home with one of these. And this is the same version we use in all of our stations when I do our family quests, referencing this, just so that families are on the same page as what's happening in the classroom. Probably better to say we're on the same page as what's happening at home. That's probably a better way to say it. What I really love about this version, there's two big factors. It's called an NIRV translation, which stands for New International Readers. So they've taken the NIV version and they've adjusted the language so it works for elementary age students. So chances are your kiddos, when you're talking with them or reading with them on the scriptures, you're not going to run across a word that's out of their comprehension. You might run across an idea still, but the words they should be able to comprehend. Second thing I really love about this Bible, as you're talking with your crew guide, you can point it back, your kids, you can point it back to this, is it's tailored for different learning styles. So there's activities throughout. So if someone's really artsy, here's an artsy thing. If someone likes to write or play music, here's something musical. If someone likes just data and information, here's the conversation point. So it really helps kiddos engage different learning styles, which is why we kind of created this program as well. So I'm going to read out here, I'm going to read a familiar passage from Mark chapter 10. I'm just going to read through it once, but I just ask that we sit in this passage from the context of a child, getting to interact with Jesus. And just, as best as our imagination can do, what does this feel like? What am I experiencing? What do I walk away with as a kid? So this is chapter 10, verses 13 through 16. People were bringing little children to Jesus. They wanted him to place his hands on them to bless them, but the disciples told them to stop. When Jesus saw this, he was angry. He said to his disciples, "Let the little children come to me. Don't keep them away. God's kingdom belongs to people like them. What I'm about to tell you is true. Anyone who will not receive God's kingdom like a child will never enter it." Then he took the children in his arms. He placed his hands on them to bless them. I think that is one of the most affirming passages in all of Scripture for why we're doing what we're doing. I think what's really affirming to me is that Jesus got angry. It's this good type of anger when people were getting in the way of what he desired and loved. He just wanted to spend time with these kids, to bless them, for them to have a real encounter with the living Jesus. Maybe some of those kids are actually, like, maybe one of them was Mark or Luke hanging out with Jesus. We don't know. Go on and be the evangelist to write those accounts of Luke and Mark and the book of Acts. Have you guys ever seen The Chosen at all? I think it's like the first or second episode. They do that story kind of, and it just helps with the imagination. So from that story, what I want you to do is envision as crew leaders and crew helpers, you get to partner with Jesus in shepherding kids, right? So your role is designed to be really pastoral and present. The station leader role is different. That's more classroom management, instruction, big picture. You're there to go deep, right? And so you're there to hear with the Lord, what are the questions they're really asking? What are the questions I could be asking? How do I pass this conversation back off to mom or dad? What we don't want to do is make Jesus angry, because he gets angry if we get in the way of what he's doing. And so as a kids program, this is one of the best ways we think, how do we not get in the way, but instead get with Jesus to do these kids. So I just want that to set the context and the pulse for the rest of our training today. We're going to go over a lot of detailed stuff. So we're going to break up our time into 3 little sessions. One's going to be looking at the Explorers program right now. So it's going to be much more heartsy and purpose-driven, awesome. The second part, we're going to do a 5-minute break in between. It's going to be policies and procedures. So if you're a rule follower, you're going to be just jazzed. If you're not, you're going to gloss over a little bit. It's okay, we're here. We'll do a break. And the last one will be just some practical ways for you to be pastoral presence with these kids. And so if we have time, we'll go through those tools and then make some time for questions, and then hopefully get you out of here. Does that sound like a flying trip? Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, we're going to start by just going through the who, what, where, when, why of BC Explorers. This is a new program. We actually custom made it just for our church. Trying to grab strategies that we've seen works well with our families, grab content that we feel pastorally will connect with them at this season of life. We use some out-of-the-box curriculum stuff, but most of it is just going to be pretty much adapted for our context. So we're missionaries too, you guys, not just pastors, but missionaries. A lot of great resources out there, but none of them quite feel like they fit with what Jesus is doing with our kiddos right now. So the heart of why BC Explorers kicked off is, as a community at large, we're really wanting to go deeper. What is it like to live a life near and like Jesus, to be his disciple? And we can see from the passage we read that does not exclude kids. In fact, kids are probably the prime sample, right? You actually kind of have to be like a child to do this thing. And so, if anything, we get to prioritize kids in the discipleship journey. So that's why this exists. Is there a way we can help our kids grow near and like Jesus?
Just since NIRV is great, it simplifies things, but it's still the Bible, and the Bible can be complicated. And I'm a parent who I'm just starting trying to do a good job with the Bible with my kids. And I just want to say, you read Mark 10. I know there would be a lot of credence to starting with Genesis or something like that too. I find like Mark is on, like any kind of discipling kids, if you want to take it with them. Mark is all like 5 to 10 verse bite-sized stories. It is the simplest gospel. I love Mark as an adult too, but my kids have been digesting it and loving it. And I can pull them aside for literally 3 minutes and I can do something, So I just want to encourage you that Mark and then IRV are really great.
That's super helpful. So maybe the Lord will bring that to your reminder. You're talking with a parent at checkout. I'm just starting to read the Bible with my kids. What's a good book to start with? Mark. Yeah. And it actually brings me thinking to my second really big heart reason why this program exists. As a kids program, we have been very strong in making sure that parents or the home leaders are really the primary disciple makers of our kids. We've given like take-home sheets, right? But really what's happening at home and happening in church, it hasn't been congruent, right? It's just been kind of, maybe there's a small chance it might just work with what you're doing with your kids at home, but probably not. So just a kind of a cool little statistic from a company that does a lot of research between kids ministries and home life is, as a church, we probably get about 40 hours with a child a year, okay, total. You can't really disciple a kid in 40 hours really well. Parents get about 3,000, okay? So if you're looking at just that number alone, where should we put all of our time and energy? and we really need to be putting a lot of our time and energy in making sure our parents are equipped and encouraged, right? So you see mom or dad come, they're just carrying a heavy drive to church, right? Kids are arguing stuff. Very important, we get the kids signed up, but can you spend 10 seconds just to build up that parent? Let them know, man, you are the right dad for your family. God knew what he was doing. He's really smart. As a dad, those things build me up. Like, Caleb, God has made you for Hudson and Isaiah. He knows that they need to digest the gospel in bite size, right? He's put that strategy in your heart. He wouldn't have put that strategy in my heart. So that's really another heart. And so Family Quest, we'll spend time this morning talking about it. I know I've championed it as we've kind of just done our ad hoc in the moment. Here's what you have to do to be a crew guide leader. But really, Family Quest is one of the biggest parts of what we can do on Sunday morning. So that's kind of the what, the why. Who's the who of BC Explorers, right? It feels like, okay, let's just make sure we know all the players in the room. First who is our kids, right? So how are these crews designed? It's kindergarten through 4th grade, and it's mixed age, and it's mixed gender per crew. And as much as I'd like it to be steady every week, the same crew, it's gonna be various every week as well. If we had a context where parents are signing up, it's like a VBS context, we might get stronger in there, but right now, if you're dealing with a crew of kids that are anywhere from kindergarten to 4th grade, guys, gals, and different from week to week, which has some disadvantages for us that we can chat through later on. The next audience that's really important for us, I call them our home leaders, right? So we live in a culture that has family types of all different backgrounds. So we have your families that are your nuclear families with a mom and dad at home. You have families that just have one mom or one dad, a blended family with stepkids, stuff. So we want to just make sure we're paying attention to who's actually leading the home, who's carrying the weight of making sure these kids are cared for, discipled into the life of Jesus. That's our home leader. Sometimes it's grandma and grandpa, sometimes it's foster parents. Just pay attention to who's dropping the kid off, because they're carrying they're carrying the 3,000 hours, right? The next folks are you guys. You're our crew guides and our crew helpers. So crew guides, so raise your hand if you're a crew guide. So right over here. So everyone 18 or 16 or older actually can be a crew guide. Your job is to really pastor and shepherd the group as it moves from learning experience to learning experience. And crew helper, you're actually the main person you're serving is the crew guide, actually. So really good example, bathroom things come up, little emergencies come up, and the crew guide is focused on the group as a whole and going deep into a relationship. If there's just something that's taking the crew guide away from that, the crew guide's gonna delegate that or hand that off to you, okay? So that's your main role. Secondary role is you're replicating what the crew guide's doing, okay? So, crew guide, you got everything you need? Awesome. I'm gonna be present with the kids now. I'm gonna play with them, I'm gonna draw with them, I'm gonna create with them, I'm gonna discuss with them. I'm gonna pay attention to what might be going on in their lives. Next, people, the who is the station leaders. So we've got really 5 station leaders. We've got the 2 station leaders here for Opening Quest, which is Nathan Lyles running media, and mostly me. Maybe in the future it'll be someone else kind of discipling into that, kind of leading that Opening Quest. Then we've got our 3 rotations: Bible Discovery Room, Adventure Games, and Creation Station. All 3 of them have different folks in there that are just passionate about that learning style. They're passionate about showing Jesus to the kids through that learning style. And if you've got kiddos that aren't engaging in like craft or snack creation, they're probably going to engage well in the games. And so just pay attention to that as you go. It's like one kid today was in Adventure Games, and he just was not engaged at all. He was climbing on the eggplant chairs. And I was like, okay, this is probably not a great learning environment for him. So I just asked him to be my helper. And he thrived the whole time. And this is a child that has usually some behavioral issues to work through, not one. So it's just like, oh, paying attention. So creation station leaders, they're going to do that. I kind of operate a little bit outside of the role by doing that. But as a crew guide, you could probably make that observation that, oh, this person's, it's not a great learning style for them. They're going to still get into an environment with their learning style, but for this one, is there something we can do for this student in this learning style? So that way the station leaders are freed up to lead the group at large. Let's see, who else? Oh, and directors. So me and Lori Cruz, and Holly checks you on the report. This year, in order to help BC Explorers really thrive and do well, Lori and I decided to be more intentional about which classrooms we're over in the morning directing. So Lori's actually directing all of our BC Littles classes, right? So Littles is pre-K and down. And I'm directing the BC Explorers and also the kids program at large. But so on a Sunday morning, right, if you've got questions specific to the BC Explorers, just get them to me if possible, because I'll be best able to serve you. The negative of that separation is we're kind of working in boxes, so I know a lot about this area, she knows a lot about that area. It's a gift and it's a strength and a weakness. And so if you go to Lori asking about something, you may not get the answer, but if you go directly to me, you'll be able to get the answer. Even scheduling stuff. Okay. How a VC Explorer? I'm just going to zoom through this. How do we do what we're setting out to do to equip and encourage parents and lead our kids to a life with Jesus? It's Explorer theme, right? Discipleship is about growth, right? You're never, the perfect disciple. You never land, right? God, by intention, creates tension in our life, like an exploration. You know there's a destination, but around every turn, there's a new challenge, a new obstacle, a new way to grow, a new way to strengthen. And so the Explorer theme at large it really treks on with discipleship from a biblical definition. It's also rotation-based to engage those different learning styles as one thing, but also sometimes we go about 2 hours at Believers Church, sometimes over. I don't know about you, I have a hard time staying in a fixed spot for more than 12 minutes, right? So rotation should help also with classroom management because you're transitioning pretty frequently. It's a new environment for kids. It's the commercial phenomenon. That's why commercials are every 6 minutes because our attention span is awful. So we're creating space for kids to, switch gears, a little reset. So take advantage of it. If you've got a kid who's really challenging in this rotation, just know you're about to move your bodies. You have a new reset, right? Start fresh in a new rotation, maybe a new environment will be helpful for that kid. Okay, it's also a large group, small group model. In the past, we've had just classroom. The heart of this is twofold. I'm gonna call it fun and friends, okay? If you ask any kid what they're really excited about going back to church on Sunday, it's one of those two categories. We know that Jesus is working beautiful things into their heart, but it's usually a lot of fun, or have friends, or a combination of both. Large group, small group creates both environments. A lot of fun in large group and some of our small groups, but also by going smaller, you have a higher chance of the kids being known and you knowing them. And we're already seeing that. I mean, today, Lucy prayed. One of her prayers was, I want to be in so-and-so's group next week, if possible. That's because of the small group dynamic that she's been in. So, and the last thing is how we're doing it is our curriculum. So what I did is I took a curriculum, a box curriculum from Group Publishing, and we're tailoring it to our environment. What I love about this curriculum is it's always about the character and person of God primarily. So we look at a Bible story. What is God up to in this story as he's interacting with these characters? Right? So today was, God knows we need help. We need his help, right? I've worked with other curriculums where it's really about the behavior that we can pull away from it. Like, we need to be wise like Solomon. Okay, sure. How does a kid get wisdom, right? It starts by, we know from Proverbs, fear of the Lord. It's the Lord who gives us wisdom. So we don't want to get the cart before the horse in our discipleship with kids. We want to start foundationally with them. We want them to know the real God. What is he like? Who is he? And then from that, I'm confident, I know this in my own life, when I sit in an awareness of who God is, what he's like, the good news, the gospel, my behavior actually starts to get better. It's like when the root system goes deep and the trunk grows, my life starts bearing fruit. I'm like more patient with my wife when I start my morning knowing that God is patient with me. And so that's what we're hoping to do. So each of the lessons will show and highlight. We're going chronologically through the Bible, selective stories that kids can handle. There are stories that kids can't handle yet. And we're just going to say, what can we learn about God from this and how he interacts with us? So, and then now we're going to go through the win. Okay, everyone pretty much has the win down. Like we do this every Sunday. Here's our schedule. I'm going to fly through it really, really quickly. Kevin, Allie, I know that you haven't gone through it yet. So I am around for questions, and we can hash it out. Plus, you're going to be with a crew guy who's going to go through the ropes and all. So, Kevin, I might just walk. So, All right, I've got a schedule on a lanyard right here. All of our crew guides, help work, and station leaders have this. This is gold. This is a Lori Cruz idea. This is not a Zach Ripley idea. I get no credit for this. That's all. Since we put this on people's necks, it has worked great. It has worked wonderful. This is gospel. You just follow this, and you're gonna be fine. Parents are gonna know where to find you. Yes. So that's basically it. From 10 to 10:25, we're in here. Actually, let me back up. 9:30 to 10. Really, really important time for crew guides and crew helpers, because we have kids of families that are serving. They get here early, so we'll have some kids here. Like Lucy was here at 9:30, right? Because her family was serving in different areas. So 9:30 is really important to get here. Also gives you a chance to grab some breakfast from our workroom. It's not like a fancy breakfast, but it's like little cinnamon rolls. It's kids' budget breakfast, okay? So get some breakfast, grab your travel pack, come in here, find your circle, interact with the kids as they arrive, and then you'll prep your family quest in that time. If you have a chance, even maybe read some of the samples from Family Quest, because at the end of the day, you'll go through with the kids. Okay, 10 o'clock, Nathan is gonna start the 5-minute timer. We're on a very strict schedule, even though in the sanctuary they are not, because there are times when they get out at 10:20. Most of the time it's gonna be like, or 11, most of the time it's 11:40.
10:20.
If Seth Kinninger is
That would be
speaking, you know,
nice.
he's punctual dude.
Anna's like that.
Yes, very quick.
Those are your favorite mornings.
They can be.
Well, this is too early.
They can be. Anyways, I can go for outro there. Yes, I would not change a thing about our church.
Yes.
You change one thing, you change it all, right?
Punctual? Yeah.
Okay, then you're gonna opening question here with the opening quest leader, Nathan. Really, your roles here, other than signing kids in, giving them a great welcome experience and greeting parents, is gonna be to model and to dive in and experience that childlikeness, right? They wanna be able to be led by crew guides and crew leaders who get them, right? So if you're looking funky and awkward, trying to do hand motions, like I think I said today, I wrote the BC Explorer. I forget it every week, you know? That's okay, because it gives kids permission, like, oh, that's right, my crew guide isn't Jesus. My crew guide just happens to be an older version of me, right? That can make mistakes too and be goofy and wacky and humiliate themselves. So get a chance, like, jump in with the music and like, man, after doing Family Quest with worship, my arms are like, my pits are sweaty from all the running around on stage. And I'm like, all the songs have this motion, you know? And I'm like, here we go, you know? It's like, kids aren't looking, right? It's
Is that
just
why
me
you
and my
wear dark
nose
shirts?
paying attention. What?
Is that why you wear dark shirts?
I actually only wear this shirt on Sundays because I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'm trying to keep on schedule. I'm a medium, so every time I order kids' shirts, they never fit me, but Brooke Poindexter ordered these shirts one day, and it fits me so great. I just want to wear it all the time. So I do. But I can't. I don't have the skill of ordering right size shirts. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay. Then going through the stations, we kind of talked about what that looks like. We've got Bible Discovery Room, and here's a negative to the rotation system and having one point throughout it is not all the kids are going to experience the Bible in their first rotation, right? So I'm working with the station leaders to kind of tease the Bible out in the beginning. So that the game it makes sense and things like that. But if you're a part of if your group is traveling, like I think red starts in Bible, green starts in Creation Station, and they're last in Bible. So just pay attention. Which crew am I in? Look at your schedule. Oh, I'm not going to be in Bible till the end. Tease it out a little bit. It's okay if you spoil what
So the
Sarah's.
crews follow the same schedule each week?
Yep, same week. So yeah, you guys should as well. I think if you're gonna sub in, yeah, so you should be pretty set on who you are unless you're subbing in for someone. So they go through the 3 station. I'm gonna just hit the last one real quick because I think that one just goes off script. This is where your role starts to really shine and gets intentional. In the 3rd rotation, when the station leader is finished and handed the conversation back to you, you get to have that pastoral moment. You've been listening all morning to what the kids are saying, hearing what could be highlighted, and this is your moment to touch base with those things. So you're gonna pull out your family quest first, which you're rolled up, share it, kind of inspire. You're gonna be marketers for a little bit, like try and sell it. I'm hoping within a year it can start to kind of shift culture a little bit, where the kids are excited about it, families are excited about it. It just takes time. So we had 2 kids who participated this week. That's a win for me. You know, that's way more growth than any take-home you've ever had taken home. They make it either to the trash on the way out of the hallway or on the floor in the car, right? No judgment towards parents. It just doesn't integrate with what you're doing. So you're gonna have a moment to do that. Then you're gonna have a moment just to bless your kids. This is the passage we just read from Mark. This is what you guys get to replicate and live out in the now. So you've been listening all morning. You've heard that so-and-so lost a cat, right? You've heard that someone's got a test coming up. Now you get to say, okay, we're gonna sit down with Jesus, and just like Jesus loved to bless the kids, we're gonna bless you. You guys have permission. Careful, we're gonna get to physical touch and stuff, but you can point a hand in their direction, whatever you're comfortable, and just bless them. You can either do it at group level, however Holy Spirit's leading you, or you can do it one-on-one. Take that time, because the next activity after that is just end of day activities, right? So each classroom has a bin or an area in the room with just board games, right? So if they only do board games 1 minute because you spent 10 minutes blessing them, that's a win, right? So you don't feel like you have to rush that time, but also don't hear that and be like, oh, I've got to stretch it out. Just follow Holy Spirit and you listen to the inner voice. Okay. Any questions about who, why, what, where? I think I hit all of that first sheet, right? Yes, of BC Explorers. Do you guys kind of questions about the program at large?
I forgot which group Ian's in the game room. Doing that little thing at the end feels a little challenging to me when that's your last station.
Okay.
But maybe it's easier than I think. I don't know.
Yeah. What makes it challenging?
Just because they're already playing and they're just got so much blood
Yeah.
flowing.
Got it.
And so bringing them into a very calm,
Can you throw me a pen?
orient that environment. The other two, I could visualize. It would be really easy if this was your last.
It actually
station.
gets crazy.
Oh, yeah?
It was a bit intensive here.
Oh, okay.
I call
Okay.
it fish tank phenomenon.
Okay.
Like fish will grow to their environment, and it's a big environment.
Yeah,
so.
they wanted to kick the ball, they started flicking the lights off, and you couldn't control them.
Okay.
Try to take down home.
Any problems? Who ends in Creation Station? That one seems to be the best.
Oh yeah, it's so chill.
It's a smaller one. It's so nice.
Perfect, man.
It's a smaller
I'll
one.
trade you colors. I'll trade you colors.
Can I get that color?
I gotta get out of here.
This is a really good point. You guys, this is new for Believers Church. We're pioneering a new type of program for kids. So any feedback you have, criticism or positive, like we're in beta phase, so we can keep adjusting before it becomes tradition and we have the sacred cows. We're like, oh, we can't move from the chapel because we've always done it in the chapel. It's like, no, who says we can't move from the chapel if this is not a good environment? So,
But maybe it works better. I'll try. I don't think I've really done that
if you
so
let,
far.
I think what comes to mind immediately is incorporating an activity for the games person to something quiet and still.
Yeah,
Today
that's
was
a
a
good
pretty
idea.
mellow
That's a
game
good idea.
actually. Or as I'm designing the curriculum, put the mellow game if there's two.
Yeah.
So that's what
That's a
something to
good
get there.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess the challenge I don't know how to overcome is once the crew guide transitions to the door, is that like the transition to the playtime at the same time?
That's great. So you're talking about the last rotation.
Uh-huh.
You went over Family Quest. You prayed over them, and that transition. Yeah, it's a little awkward because in an ideal world, you'll have 2 crew helpers with you. That doesn't always work out. Just as we're building the team. So if you have just one crew helper and you're at the front and you have a crew helper, which crew helpers picture you're with now a room, especially in games room with lively kids. So I'd leave it up to your judgment at this point. Is if you think a crew helper would be better at the door while you're with the kids, just make sure the crew helper is ready to hand the conversation off well.
Okay.
And when we go through the training of that part in this training, we'll talk about what it looks like to successfully do that.
Okay.
That's a good question.
We were just like, what's wrong with
BC
Cassie? It's
Kids,
an hour-long
policies
hour
and
through.
procedures.
Twice.
I have a note that says this could take 45 minutes. So,
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I'm ready.
so with questions, if you have a question, just write the question next to the point as we go through, and we'll ask it towards the end. All right, I'm gonna just zoom through. Is everyone back?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna start with scheduling procedures because we're fresh, and I'm really invested in this part of our policies and procedures. Okay, this last year we switched over how we schedule everyone at BC Kids in an app called Services. When I say that, does it sound foreign to anybody? Services app. Christina and Sunday. Okay. Services sits. It's a software that sits on top of our data system as a church, right? So we made a move right before COVID to make sure all of our softwares are talking to each other, so we switched over to a system called Planning Center. And Services uses all the data in there, so it's really, really easy for our teams around the church to do our scheduling. It's also really, really easy for you to communicate with us, whether you're not gonna be here or you are gonna be here, or you have dates in the future like, please Zach, don't schedule me. I've got my bar mitzvah for my cousin who I'm trying to convert to Christianity. It's coming up. It's like, okay, very specific, but you're not gonna be there that Sunday. You can find it in the Apple Store or what's Android called? I forgot.
Play Store.
Play Store. You just type in Services, plural, and then Planning Center, all, and you'll find it. It's a green little icon. It's gonna, if it's your first time using it, it's gonna say what's your email address. Whatever email address I've been emailing you with, that's the one that you're in Planning Center with. So just use that email address. It will send you a little email to password to log in and stuff. If you need help navigating the app, shoot me a text now that you have my number, and I'll show you a quick little 3-minute video I found that Planning Center made that's really, really easy to, it's just swipe, find it, click, and all that stuff. Things that you'll do with the app, so you're gonna confirm or deny your spots. So I'll go over when I send those out. And then you can also review the lesson plan. So I put those up the week of, so that way, if you lost my email with the lesson plan, go into Services, little PDF version of it, scroll, read, enjoy a nice cup of joe with it. And then you can add blockout dates. That's the language they use for if you know you're gonna be out of town for 2 weeks and it's where you normally schedule, it's like a month out. Put the blockout dates in, and when I go to schedule, it sends me a nice little flashing notification that says, Aaron's gonna be out, don't schedule in. And I don't have to dig through my text or email, it just says it right there. So I won't schedule Aaron for that day. And I'll find
What
this out.
happened in November?
Yeah, so if you've already put blockout days, no, perfect, great, that'll be a good test. I'm gonna talk about scheduling communications. Say the number 3.
3.
You'll get 3 touch points, okay?
33.
Yes, 33, not 33 touch points. If it was like a month ago, it felt like 33 emails, because we were like, I had a baby being born and we're scheduling trainings. 3, you feel confident about 3 emails in a given like month cycle. 1 is gonna be the month before, so what's today? Today's October 3rd. Around October 15th, I'm gonna send an email out with all of the November the next month?
Yes.
November schedule, okay? So you'll get that 1 email from me. It will have an attachment, it'll say, here's a master schedule. If you need subs, we're gonna go over in a second. Here's a list of people to contact. Go to Services, it's already in Services, confirm or deny your spot, let me know why. So that'll be the first one. The next email you're gonna get from me is, it's actually gonna be an automatic email from Services the Monday before you serve. So that's 6 days before you serve, saying, reminder, you're serving this Sunday, and if you haven't accepted yet, it will prompt you, accept here, or if you've already accepted, it's just a confirmation email. The next one will be from me, usually around Tuesday. Once I've finalized all the lesson stuff, I will send out the lesson to crew guides, crew helpers, say, here's the lesson, here's what crew you guys are in, if you have questions, have fun. Also in that email will be any like illness policies we're doing with the COVID stuff. So right now, having you guys wear masks with the kiddos. When we drop that email will let you know. We dropped it. If you have questions, you can call me, things like that. So those are the 3 communications. Let's talk about coordinating a swap, all right? So here's when not to coordinate a swap. Like, it's Saturday night, you're serving tomorrow, and you're like, have a fever, or there's a family emergency. What I don't want you to do is all of a sudden like, contact all the crew guides and leaders and say, who could sub for me tomorrow? Because it's Saturday night, I want them to enjoy their Saturday night. What you can do though is, if that's the situation, you can text me and say, hey, this happens every Saturday, you guys, so don't even feel guilty. This is part of my job. Text me like, this came up, I can't be at church tomorrow, and I'll be like, great, I gotta find a sub. And it's not always gonna be Christina. That's my pledge to her. So, okay, so that's the exception. Here's the rule though. When you get that monthly email, and if you didn't get ahead of me and you didn't put your blockout dates in, but you're like, oh no, I forgot I had that, you will have a list of all the crew guides and crew leaders, or crew helpers to contact, and just start reaching out. Hey, you'll have the master schedule for the month. You'll be like, oh, I see that Evan's scheduled on that week. That week works really better for me. Evan, can you swap me? And then if you land providentially on a swap, just text me or email me and say, hey, Evan and I are gonna swap, I'll fix it in services, and we're good to go. Actually, let's pull out, in your little handout is a physical copy of the master schedule and the contact list. I had to order a new printer because my color function's dying also, unfortunately. Okay, this is one of the attachments you'll get. It will look like this, and it's in 4 columns by week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 of the month ahead. Okay, and then it basically has the roles and who you're plugged with, who's your helper. So this is, if you're like, oh, I need to coordinate a swap. This is basically, you can get it at a glance and know. For example, for week 1, Steve, Jason, and Cheryl are scheduled to be crew guides. Well, Steve's then not going to reach out to Jason and Cheryl to coordinate swap because that's just going to waste time. So he's going to reach out to Caleb and Chloe the next week and say, you guys want to swap? Switch like that. But he's like, how do I know how to contact them? Well, that's the other attachment in the email, which is I try to keep this up to date every month. We got a pretty large team, so life happens. People are coming in and out of the team. If you are a crew helper and you need to coordinate a swap, I have contact information of the parents of the crew helper. So you're not reaching directly out to the student, okay? And then crew guides, all your numbers here. If you could, just at some time today, review this, make sure the information I have on here is correct for you. All right, I think I've gone through everything with scheduling. I'm about to jump into one of the most important policy procedure sections, emergency stuff, safety stuff, sickness. We're probably going to camp on this part most of this section. Okay, emergency, safety, and sickness. I'm just going to go point by point. Just take notes. That helps you memorize the facts you need. Background checks. We as a church require background checks for anyone 18 or over. So I think everyone here has been background checked who's 18 or over. If you're like 17 coming on 18, Lori Cruz will reach out and get you a background check. It's good for 3 years. It is not the end all for keeping our children safe, right? It only tells us what people have done, not what people are doing, right? So it is one precaution we set in place to make sure our kids are, we just don't put anyone on our team who has a record of hurting children. It's just a rule we have, and we're going to stick with it. Not because we don't believe in grace and people can be healed. We just know the enemy loves to tempt and use our past, and we don't want to put anyone in that situation. So that's why we do background checks. Also, we ask very blunt questions on our application. So fire procedures. This could happen, and as the crew guides, crew leader, it involves your guys' involvement. So what happens in a fire situation is the goal is you want to set the environment for the kids you're with, right? So remain calm, right? Alarms going off, sprinklers are going off, security cars are saying we need to get out. Kids are they're gonna feed off how you're feeling, right? So if you can stay calm, breathe. I know it's hard, right? All the hormones are gonna be going, emotions are going. Step 1 is stay calm. Step 2 is make sure you have all your kids and your roster. If you leave the rest of your stuff wherever you're at, I don't care. You just need your roster and your kids, okay? And your helper, your guide. And everyone's there, you're gonna line them up, calmly walk to the nearest exit, which for BC Explorers will be the main entrance, okay? Walk them out, and then your goal is to walk them as far away from the building as you can, but while keeping them safe, right? So for us, what that looks like is you're gonna walk them all the way to the end of the parking lot, up to where the grass is at, okay? You start getting them into the grass on the sidewalk, well then you have a different danger. You have oncoming traffic now, and emergency vehicles maybe need to hop a curb, right? So you just get them over there, and then from there on out, your next thing is take your roster, which you took with you, and you're gonna make sure you have all your kids accounted for, okay? If you don't have all your kids accounted for, don't play the hero. You don't run back in. Each of your rosters has these color cards to communicate with emergency personnel. And if you forget everything I tell you right now, all the instructions are written on the cards, okay? So you can hold up a combination of these cards for emergency personnel. You can hold up just one. It'll make sense as I go through. Let's say you count all your kids. They're all here. Great. I'm gonna make sure I tell all the firefighters and police I've got all my kids. And these are standard colors, right? So emergency personnel know to look for these, okay? I'm good, my group's good, right? Let's say you're going through and on the way out, someone tripped and twisted their ankle and they're hurt, right? Or you're in a room that has too much smoke and they took in too much smoke. Okay, I have all my kids, but someone needs medical attention. That's your white card, okay? See if you can hold up both. let's say you have all your kids, there's a medical need, and you actually have someone else's kid too. You roster up, and you actually have someone else's kid. Yellow, that tells emergency personnel, hey, I've got an extra kid. So they know not to be going, they don't need to go back in the building if they're only looking for one more kid. They're gonna look for yellow, they're gonna say, do you have Susie? I have Susie, great. Firefighters don't need to go back in that set. Okay, and red is if you're missing, right? So if you're missing a child. So you're just gonna read these, take an inventory of your kids, hold up this, and then while you're holding it up and communicating with emergency personnel services, have your crew helper just keep calm, right?
But you're not gonna hold green and red at the same time.
No, you would, yeah, there would never be a situation where you hold these two at the same time.
I have all my kids, but I'm still missing.
But, yeah.
Some, my
Emergency,
senior-
firefighter may go, I don't think you're missing a kid, but you might be missing some marbles. Yeah, joke. Okay. Yeah, so just keep them calm, because it could be a false alarm, you don't know, and you guys could be out there in Tulsa heat for an hour, you know, you just never know. So keep them calm. Fun games to play while you're sitting there is I Spy, Operator,
Nice. Fire truck.
stationary games. Tornado procedures. This is Tulsa. Here we go. Okay. Tornado sirens start going off, or our security team says, hey guys, tornado just touched down. Very rare in our area of Tulsa, though a few years ago we did have a small tornado touch down and we had to spend boo-hoo dollars on air conditioner units. If it happens, remain calm. This thing, right? Grab your kids, grab your roster, and instead of heading outside like a fire, you're going to stay inside. You're going to go to what's called a safe place in here. We have a few locations around the building, along the main walls, that have more structural support than other parts of the building. Above us right now is just air. It's actually a pretty tall building. Actually, no, this one's to the ceiling right here. But if you go into any of the other classrooms, you'll notice real low ceiling. There's nothing built on top of them, okay? So there aren't really safe places to hunker down, unless you're against one of our structural walls that fire marshal said this is a safe structure. So for us in BC Kids, the nearest place, the safest place for you to take your kids in case of a tornado are our adult restrooms. It's the only reason on a Sunday morning you should ever take your kids into the adult restroom, okay? Take them into the adult restroom. You're gonna go get as near this exterior wall as you can, and you just keep them calm, huddle down, have your cards ready in case emergency personnel come by, whatever reason. They shouldn't come by in the case of tornado because they're not here yet. They're responding to a billion other things. But our security team comes in and they see, hey, I'm missing a kid. They know to get them in the same place. Really, really important for put your, okay, we've got parents in the room. Raise your hand, parents. A couple. Okay. All right. All sorts of instincts happen with moms and dads, right? If emergency happens, they're going to want to be with their kids. You cannot fight that instinct, but you do not want them to take their kids with them. One of the reasons why BC Explorers are kids programmed to be in the same crew is for instances like this. Caleb is not serving that Sunday. Tornado comes out. Chloe's mom, Mama Bear, comes out. I've got to be with Hudson and Isaiah. They come. They're in Christina's group. I need to take them right now. Your job, Christina, is to say, oh, they're safest here. I know what to do. Come with us. So you invite mom or dad with you into the group. Okay? Perfectly fine. Someone comes around. You have an extra person. It's mom, right? You're looking for Chloe everywhere, right? You let security know. Well, she's sticking with Isaiah and Hudson because Christina said the safest thing right now is that you come help me keep them calm with us, but don't take them out because then I don't know their safety. Does that kind of make sense? So that's the best thing to do in case of a tornado. Okay, intruder active shooter procedures. This is heavy stuff to talk through. I don't like having to talk through this, but we just live in a culture that's broken, and we live in a time where it's getting more and more common for people to come into a building with ill intent and harm people, and most of the time it's using a firearm. Okay, so we have, and this is because of Andrea Hogue, when she was director. We always have a paid guard at the most vulnerable part of our building, which is the front entrance. We always lock that back entrance, right, when service starts going, and the rear exit. So really there's only one main point of entrance, and they've got to pass a paid armed guard, and we've got volunteer guards who are trained in carrying as well throughout the building, right? So we have a pretty good stacked team, but it is possible that a staff member comes through one of those back doors using their keys, it doesn't close all the way, or someone gets in there in the sanctuary and they're ready to harm. It's very, very possible. Not likely, but possible. So what do we do in that case, right? If you can remember anything from this little teaching, it's this order: run, hide, fight. Okay? This is what the FBI teaches, and so they're smarter than me on it. And I've taught this curriculum to college freshmen at ORU, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, and they're still advocating the same thing. All right, if you can, right, using the same fire procedures, right, grab your kids, get out of the building, right? So let's say all the activities happening sanctuary, right? And you're catching commotion, security guards say, you need to get out of the building right now. You have time, right? If you're in chapel, get out of the building. Run, get out, go hide, buy a lot more, hide behind a car, get safe. Start getting. That's your first option. That's usually not always an option though, because by the time you're aware of what's happening, it means whoever's around there is pretty close, right? So the next option is hide. Right? I need to start locking these doors actually. Shut the doors, get into an area of the room that they can't be seen if they walk by. They're gonna most likely walk by, look in the windows. If no, they can't see anyone, they're gonna keep moving, right? Because they don't want to waste their time. They've got just seconds to do the harm they want to do. So if you can get your kids out of sight, out of the line of fire, then and get the door locked and even barricaded, you're great. So what that can look like for a space like chapel is, like I said, I need to get these doors locked. Doors will be locked. They're gonna come there, hit the door. There's no way for them to look in, so they're gonna try and break the window. They're not gonna do it. That door doesn't have a window either, so you're probably great just huddling down in the sound booth, right? That's a pretty good out of sight spot. They walk in, if you're quiet, they don't see anyone, they move on. Okay? Creation Station's also a really good location if something like this happens. It's tucked back there. There is a window like on the side, but you can easily get out of sight, make sure the door's locked, throw some tables in front of the door, and just hunker down. This is one of the only times I'm okay with turning the lights off, right? You can use the flash on your phone to keep kids from it. Turn the light off. That can keep visibility down literally to the window. The main point of concern for me, and we know this is a weakness about our building, is those two classrooms in the front. So where Fusion meets and where our game station is at. Those are glass. When this building was redesigned for this church, this wasn't a big cultural issue. This was 20 years ago. And we are aware it's one of the most unsafe places. So, and there's not a lot of furniture in that place. So, if you're in that space, can you guys picture that room? Depending on where all the activity's coming from, right, it's gonna determine where best in the room to hide. Probably, if you're gonna remember anything, the best thing is to just get your kids on their butts, back against the wall. Do you know where those double-sided windows are at? And just against that. So if someone looks in, they're gonna look down and not see any of your kids, right? It's gonna require a lot of discipline from you guys though to keep your kids down and tight. Okay. Another option is there's that booth there. You can try and hide behind the booth, but that's where, now if activity's coming from this way in the hallway, right? They're gonna come through that door and look at the door, not necessarily the glass. So you can hunker around, like you walk in, maybe we'll just walk over there. I'm visualizing there's a couple places to be out of sight. There's not a lot. So the last option, so run, hide, last one's fight. Okay? This is where you want Aaron.
The that room though is the security guard's right there. So
Yes.
That's the first line of defense is right there.
Yes.
Through the doors. Even though that's the most vulnerable room,
Yep.
it's also the closest place to guard.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll notice in those two rooms we have those shades. Those shades actually do a really good job of preventing you to see in. You can see out fine, but just with light hits in the morning. And so if someone's driving up or past, they're not going to really be able to look into the room and see kids in there. And want to come through the front, most likely. Yeah. So the last one's fight. I'm not a fighter, right? And so this is the hardest one for me to stomach. Is let's say you're running, you're hiding, you know you're in a place where something could happen. I'm sorry if this is really scary content for you guys. Just trying to equip you guys, because in the moment, what comes out is what you know. Is you're hiding, adults in the room, make a plan, right? So grab a fire, wait on a fire extinguisher. Grab something heavy, right? Make a plan and commit to the plan, right? The person's already committed to hurting you, right? They're not gonna like get, you know, when you back out of a marriage, what's that called?
Cold feet.
Cold feet. They're not gonna get cold feet, right? They've already committed. So you can't hesitate. So Aaron, you make a plan with your crew helper. If this person walks in, I'm pushing this structure on them, right? Don't hesitate. Just commit to the plan. So that's it. That's run, hide, fight in that order. You can't run, hide. You can't hide. Get ready, make a plan. Best you do. Fight things good. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, in most cases, when they are confronted, they'll stop. Is that true?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like, at the Little Lighthouse, we did a walkthrough with a police major.
Yeah.
And he was saying that a lot of times they're so committed that they won't stop until they are.
Oh, you mean the person
The-
wanting to do the harm?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, we're believers. We know there's a spiritual realm. We know that when people are all mixed up in this, there's demonic involved, there's mental health involved, there's brokenness involved. That you cannot reason with a person who's committed to this, right? Okay. Yes.
On that, I don't think I have a very clear vision on the run.
Okay, great. Okay.
Because I got kids. Am
Yes.
I conducting them in an organized jog? I mean,
You're-
what's going on? Or is this just me individually running?
Yeah, no, you want to get your whole crew out, right?
Okay.
Let's say though, your crew helper is taking kids to the bathroom,
Mhm.
right? So they're at the restroom. You're in that station. Activities happening on the side of the building. They have an opportunity to run, right? That's gonna be their first course of action. They're gonna run. They're gonna exit out those doors maybe. You don't have the opportunity to run, so your next default is hide, right? So you don't need to waste the mental energy thinking, what's the best option here? Run or hide. Most likely, if something like this happens, you're going to be in the classroom, and the activity is going to be happening right here, probably, because it's when you're hearing about it, and hide is going to be your default, which all the doors you can lock from the inside. These are heavy wooden doors, so they're not going to just be easily kicked down. Okay. Lost or missing child. I actually thought this happened this morning. Little Lucy Lyle's mom couldn't find Lucy. Okay. All right. If you have a lost kid, all right. I know Jesus left the 99 for the one. I'm going to ask you to do the opposite. Stay with the 99 and trust our security team to find the one. If that happens, really, really quickly, so let your crew helper. We're missing James, and trying to remember as much as details about what James is wearing. James is wearing a yellow shirt, and you know what James looks like. Go let Zach know, okay? Or go let Lori know. They go in the hallway. Hey, where's Zach? We're missing James. We can't see him. We haven't seen him in 10 minutes. He's wearing yellow. Awesome. Go ahead and head back to your class. Let Christina know that we've got it from here, and we'll keep you updated. From there, I immediately, when Teresa came up and said, we're missing Lucy, instead of like me finding her, I went up to Andy and said, Andy, we're missing a kid. Andy's first question, what is she wearing? What does she look like? They're ready for this, right? I think I've only heard of one story where we legitimately lost a kid. It was and the kid was hiding behind a door. So, it could happen. So if that happens, just get the information to me or Laura really quickly. Security team will handle it from there, and we'll keep you updated. You don't need to talk to parents. Oh, here we go. Reporting injuries, incidents, and accidents. You guys, I mean, boo-boos are gonna happen, especially in the game room. Oh, yeah. 9 times out of 10, you can handle all boo-boos with a Band-Aid and a little prayer, okay? And the kid's gonna be fine. So you have these kits in each of the stations. They're usually up tall, so kids can't get into them, but you can reach them. Pull it open, have the kid sit in a chair. It could be your helper, it could be you. If the station leaders are out there, begin to be the station leader. Sit the kid down. What happened? Are you okay? Talk to the kid. And most of the time, it can just be solved with something like that. Here is what I call where you've crossed the line of expertise. Anything happens that would concern mom or dad, talk to me or Lori, right? So if you know mom or dad's gonna be like, he fell and bumped his knee, you know, wonder like he bumps his knee all the time. He fell, he hit his head through the glass, he's bleeding. That might concern mom or dad, right? So that's kind of the filter. Anything you're like, this and a little bit of encouragement can't fix. Well, it's blood, big head injury, possible broken. I mean,
It's not bendy like this anymore.
all the
Like
things,
this.
right? If you're like, this is definitely too much for me. That's a good sign that it's probably too much for you. And then just go grab me or Lori from the hall, and we're ready to.
Send help with the light card.
Yep, be like,
Child fell from the
we've got a
building
bone
ceiling.
outside the skin. All right, got it. Andy, come with me real quick. And then from there, we'll handle it. And then as far as talking with parents, if they do have like a little minor boo-boo or something like that, it's good to just pass it off to mom and dad. I don't even know, I've lost count of how many experiences, like, I'll get a call from mom and dad, so-and-so bumped his head, he's crying, and so-and-so pushed her. I was like, did you talk to the classroom leader? No, I'm just telling what Sammy told me. Okay, let me talk to him, get what really happened. So if you catch it before the child has a chance to give their story, then it can reduce a lot of anxiety for mom and dad. Okay, so, and it may just, maybe, like, they bump their head, they seem all right. As soon as I sat them down and talked to them, they would jump back in playing. Just want to let you know. And then mom and dad who's got a better relationship with the kid can say like, oh, he's had 4 concussions, which you don't know. And so we need to be really on the ball for this. If it's anything that required me or Lori to have attention towards, we'll be the ones communicating to the parents. And so we may even pull parents in from service to kind of help care for the child as we're navigating or waiting for emergency personnel. That kind of makes sense? You don't have to be the illness policies. Well, COVID threw a wrench right in this one, right? So now I had a teacher at a runny nose this morning. Like, can I come in? You know your body. Just allergies or is this out of the ordinary? Our policy from before COVID was flu-like symptoms. So fever, anything digestive, throwing up, diarrhea. It's a clear sign that you probably have something that someone else is going to catch. So whether that's the child or you, just ask them, please stay home. That's the most loving thing to do. If you're in a classroom environment and you have a kid who just threw up or it's like, I feel really hot, engage me or Lori. We'll pull the kid out of the classroom, keep them entertained, wait till mom and dad come talk, and it may just be that the kid needs to come home with the family. If you feel like on a Sunday morning, I don't feel too hot because I feel too hot, then that's perfectly okay. I don't want you to be miserable and get everyone sick. All 7 for you. So we'll figure that out. As far as you being sick, right, like it happens. Like I just had my daughter, I canceled the last meeting because for the station leaders because my daughter caught pneumonia. Emergencies happen. Like I want to serve you guys, so don't feel like you've got to be the hero on Saturday night. I'm quite used to getting text messages, so is my wife, at like 9, 10 o'clock at night or 4 in the morning. It comes with, I knew I was signing up for this, so don't feel bad. Don't think, oh, what's Zach going to think? I got sick. I'm going to think you're evil. And then think like you're going to leave the team. I'm going to think, oh my gosh, this person needs to stay home and get well. And work. So, does that kind of make sense, illness policy? Okay, this next one, I'm going to read verbatim because I took all the language from DHS, and I can't get better language than that. Reporting abuse. We're actually exploring some ways to do this better as a kids ministry. Had some outside people come and do some training with us. But for the time being, this is our training, and I do want to say it's really, really important. I do have moments in this role where I've got to call DHS and report. We're mandatory reporters, which means if we get a sign of any abuse or neglect, we have 24 hours to report and put it in DHS. They do the work of forensic investigations. So, okay. So, as the pastors of our groups, right, you're just going to notice things. The kids are going to say things. You're going to see a bruise. Anything that's suspicious, you're probably going to be the person to catch it, right? Like to notice it. I probably won't notice it. Lori probably won't notice it. So this is really important. The station leaders probably aren't going to notice it. It's going to be you guys who notice it. If you notice it, which I'm about to read what it is, just let us know. And Lori and I will engage with the family and call it in. If even it's like, I'm kind of suspecting something like this, but I'm not sure, even that I would say, let me know. Even if it's like, because that's probably the Holy Spirit saying, something might not be right here. All right, please be mindful to look for and communicate any signs of suspicion of abuse. So there's going to be 4 categories. First one's physical abuse. This is non-accidental, serious physical injury of a child, including beatings, burns, bites, strangulation, or immersion in scalding water, resulting in bruises, welts, broken bones, scars, or serious internal injuries. Watch for unexplained bruises, bites, black eyes, broken bones, fading bruises, or other noticeable marks. This happened at VBS. We had a kid with a cigarette burn on their neck, right? Ridiculous story from the family, but I don't get to be the judge of that. I get to report it and let DHS do the forensics of it. So, sexual abuse, okay? This is heavy, especially for some of our younger helpers in here. So I would permission you helpers, if anything feels odd or funky like this, just talk to your crew guide and say, Sally said this, you know, and then let the crew guide talk, right? Does that make sense? Is sexual contact between a child and an adult or an older child for sexual gratification of the offender, right? So if that's happening, that's when we want to report. Watch for a child's difficulty in walking or sitting, or demonstration of bizarre, over-sophistication, or unusual sexual knowledge or behavior, okay? Preschoolers, kindergartners, probably should know a lot about sex, right? If they start talking about it, that's an alert that they're probably being exposed to it, okay? So let us know. Crew guides. So crew helpers, if this is happening, it's out of your wheelhouse, okay? Give it to the crew guides, okay? With any of these, give it to the crew guides. Emotional abuse, it's a pattern of behavior that attacks a child's emotional development and sense of self-worth. This is probably one of the ones that we're just kind of used to, so we wouldn't say it's abuse, right? Like, oh, dad's just making fun of Johnny again. That's emotional abuse. That's really damaging to a child. Watch for extremely compliant, passive, aggressive, or demanding behaviors, delayed physical or emotional development, or talk of or attempted suicide. Okay? You have a kiddo, we've had kiddos in the past who said, I just want to end my life. Red flag. That doesn't come out of just nowhere, right? Let me or Lori know. We'll get DHS involved. We'll come along. We have a lot of resources out of the church too. So we don't just hand off the conversation. We walk with, especially if it's a family interview, we walk with the family. We just had a case like this a few months ago, or 2 months ago. Just walk with the family. We have our lane. We can do pastoral care wise. DHS has their lane. The more lanes around a family, the better, especially for the kids. Neglect is the withholding of or failure to provide a child with basic necessities of life, which means food, clothing, shelter, medical care, hygiene, or supervision needed for optimal physical growth and development. Watch for frequently missed attendance, begging or stealing food or money, a lack of needed medical or dental care or glasses, consistently dirty appearance, or severe body odor, or alcohol or drug abuse. So,
Not just body odor, because most kids do.
right, yes, severe body odor, right? Yeah, most kids don't stink. That's our beauty students. But a good rule of thumb. I didn't even know what deodorant was for my sophomore year, but I'm sure everyone else knew what deodorant was.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Zach, you're
Before I
just
left, I was like
projecting that on us.
8, 7. I was like, you knew where the odor
is that emotional? Okay. So your Holy Spirit radar goes off. You're in conversation with a kid. They even mention something that's like, that's not healthy. Okay, let me know. Chances are, Lori and I we're in a relationship with a lot of these families. We probably already know what's going on. There might already be stuff that's in the works. Okay, we're gonna jump to the next section, security badges. So every kid has one of these printed out that's stuck to them. I noticed a kid today not have one. So if you notice a kid not have one, and they're coming in for check-in, redirect them. You check in first. These are important for 2 reasons. One, helps you know their name. I have the worst memory in the world, and I'm consistently, I've known these kids for years, and I'm looking at their name badges. Helps you know their name, but 2, there's a number on it. Well, I have my kids' ones. I don't have it. No, it's good. There's a number on it. It's a mix of numbers and letters, and it's random and different every single check-in time. That matches a security badge that a parent gets at print out. A parent only gets 1 per family. It used to be they get 1 per kid. Now it's just 1 per family. All you're gonna do is at checkout. That's our currency. We exchange children for security badges here. Okay? It's a little one-sided.
You check the kids' number.
Check the
It
number.
got a little crazy when
Make sure it matches.
Last.
Now there's gonna be, you're gonna have a family you recognize and know they dropped off, and so it'd be a little bit faster, especially as you're getting used to families. Just really lean on those. There's no exceptions, right? They've got to have the sticker in hand. If they do not have the sticker in hand, no parent is going to get upset saying, "Oh, they just care too much about my kid and their safety. I have to go and now talk to the kids around here, right?" Just say, "Hey, you just need a sticker. Zach and Lori in the hall or Holly. They can either vouch for you or print you one." And usually, what it looks like is me or Lori or Holly will walk with the parent back to the classroom and just say, "They're good," just thumbs up. And then, so once they're signed out, you just initial right next to their name. Parents are trained because of our old system to give you the sticker. A lot of our teachers are too. If they only have 1 kid, sure, take the sticker. They don't need it anymore. But encourage them to keep the sticker. It's going to be a new number next week, so it's bunk after church stuff. So
They might need it for other kids.
that's the whole point. Yeah. For the Explorer program, most of the kids should be in the group, but if they've got like a kid in the preschool classroom too, then they're gonna need stickers. So try not to take the sticker, just encourage them to keep it. And then you don't have to worry about stickers all over your stuff too. Okay, classroom lights is, I think, we have 2 more. Classroom light and appropriate physical touch. Yeah, keep the lights on. That's pretty simple. Only exceptions are when we've got the lights softened for like worship environments, or there's a game with flashlights, or an activity that involves flashlight, really brief. But we just don't, really it's not because kids get scared of the dark, it's because we don't want to let there ever be a moment where you guys are suspect of anything. Okay? That's why when we get to bathroom policies, that's in place. Right? We don't want you to ever be in a moment where it's like, but, and you just don't, you're like, I don't have an alibi here. It's like, lights are always on, people can always see, there's cameras throughout the building, there's no excuse for, kids make up stories, that's what it comes up to. Kids make up stories, and if they're coming from a place of hurt, or you say something that hurts them, you'd be surprised at what kids can say. Thankfully, we have a lot of healthy families, so that's probably rare here, but I just don't want to see any of you guys get caught in a situation where I don't have an alibi here. So that won't happen if the lights are on. And you're always people around. Okay. Appropriate physical touch. Kids need physical touch. God designed us as human beings that need touch, right? The question for us is what type and by whom? Okay? Those are big questions. It's not whether kids need to be touched. It's what type of touch they need, who needs to be doing the touching, okay? We have a really cool opportunity as the body of Christ, is because we know that humans need physical touch, we can model what healthy physical interaction can look like between kids and adults, right? More so between kids and figures that have power over them, right? Because whether you know it or not, they're viewing your relationship as I'm the one without power, they're the one with power, okay? So however you're interacting with them physically, it shows them that is appropriate or inappropriate, and they're gonna model it. So if we as a community can practice really healthy and appropriate physical touch with our kids, then when they're in unhealthy environments, they know what doesn't taste right. Does that kind of make sense? They can see the contrast and be like, oh, Evan doesn't treat me that way, and I trust Evan. Why is this coach treating me? And they can soundboard and flag to their parents, okay? That kind of makes sense? So we gotta model it. Okay. If a child wants to engage in a physical act that's inappropriate for you, here's a line I like to use. X's are for mamas and daddas only, right? So you plug it in like, oh, hugs are for mamas and daddas, right? And it's okay, they'll stop like, oh yeah, hugs are for moms and dads. We're gonna get to hugs here in a second, but when they're coming for like a full frontal hug, like, which I'm in the hallway, it happens, it's so awkward being a guy in this role sometimes, right? It happens every Sunday. And I don't wanna like reject the child, but I also wanna use it as a teaching moment, right? Hugs are for mamas and daddas, right? I take my son, he's 2, to physical therapy, and he's 2. He gives mamas and dad, he gives me and Audrey kisses all the time. He tries to give my his physical therapist a kiss, right? Oh, Ollie, kisses are for mamas and daddies only, right? And so now the physical therapist repeats that line to him, because he's just a snuggle, right? Kids are kids, they're wired that way. So perfectly okay. They come in for a kiss on the cheek. Oh, Susie, thank you so much that you want to greet me, but kisses are for mamas and daddies only, okay? Really, really. Here is what is appropriate for us in our roles. We can do high fives, fist bumps, we can put a hand on the shoulder real quick, we can do a foot 5, right? Elbow, quick pat on the head, right? Basically, shoulders up, unless it's feet or elbows, and real quick, all right? It'll make more sense when I say what's not appropriate. What's not appropriate for us, especially for males, sorry, us guys, really, really important. No children over the age of 3 should sit on laps, okay? So pretty much at BC Explorers, no lap sitting. This happens to me all the time, especially when you're in a crew environment. You're gonna have someone else sit on your lap. All you do is you just scooch, right? Oh, I'd love to sit next to you. You just scooch them right next to you. Oh yeah, right here next to you. Or they're like, I just want to sit on. They'll ask, can I just sit on your lap? Oh no, sorry, laps are for mamas and daddas only, but you can sit right next to me. I'd love for you to sit right next to me. You're teaching them then when they're in an environment with an unhealthy adult figure, and he's okay with it or she's okay with it. They know that that's not. They're learning from you. That's not. And just as a side note, Celebrate Recovery is a really big program in our church, and it's how a lot of our families first engage with Jesus and with lot of our kids of families coming from those environments. And so they're learning how to be a healthy family together. So part of that journey is their kids learning from healthy adults in here as their parents become healthy. Okay, no frontal hugs. This one's really hard because they're going to come in, dive frontal hug, right? So you kind of have to fade a little bit. I'll go through some side hug stuff just from experience. No kisses and no touching, like chest or down, right? Hands and feet, that's, knees, that's appropriate. But basically any private parts, right? You don't want any interaction. So what about side hugs? I figured we model this because this happens to me. Ben, you want to be my assistant?
Yeah.
Actually, I need someone shorter than me. Because everyone's short. Allie, you're shorter. This is helpful because Allie's Ben, come over. Okay. You can be a part of this example. All right. Allie, picture your foot shorter. And you're Aaron Peck, and Allie's coming in from the hug, right? So let's do it slow motion. Allie goes.
There you can.
Okay. Sorry, this worked out better in my imagination. Allie, I'm gonna do it with Ben, okay? Just 'cause okay. All right. Ben's coming in for the hug, right? Okay. Oh, Ben, see what I'm doing here? I'm keeping my hand out. Oh, and you can give him a snug. Give him a snug. It's so good to see you, Ben.
Yes, so good to
So
see
good
you.
to see you.
Oh.
And then you kind of relax first, right? And look, you don't want to keep. You're the first to relax, and the kid will follow. It's just gonna happen. So, and they're gonna come up from the front, and then you just, as quick as you can, right? You can just do a little snug, and then just relax. Sometimes I've had to actually, oh, that's wonderful, it's so good to see. And you just want to remember, we're teaching healthy physical interaction. Kids need physical interaction. They need hugs. They need front hugs from moms and dads, but not from people that aren't moms and dads. Does that make sense? Okay. Bathroom policies. Here's the rule of thumb. 3 or more. That's just pretty much what it is. Our bathrooms for BC Explorer are these ones here, so there really isn't a lot of opportunity for a kid to not get to go to the bathroom outside of when they're walking past there. But let's say you're in games, which happened a couple times. Yeah, it happened. Oh yeah, I totally, after you walked out, this is this is on me, because you hadn't been trained yet, so I could have caught that. A kid needed to go to the bathroom, middle of the game, right? What should have happened was, does anyone else need to go to the bathroom too? Or even if someone's like, no one's going to, actually, Oliver, will you come with us to the bathroom real quick? Ramsey's Guy's bathroom. Just have to have 3 or more. And the whole reason for that is just like with the lights off situation, we just don't want a helper to ever be alone with the kid, period. Just, even if there's another kid present, it's someone else who saw what was happening was there. Likewise, don't go into the bathroom. We're working with kids that if it's littles, we've got some policies for our littles programs because kids are learning how to use the restroom. But for here, there's no reason you've got to go into the bathroom. So just stay outside the bathroom, hang out with your partner, right out here, you're listening. The good thing about our bathrooms here is there's students in here, right? There's cameras there, and there's a second one here. So, there's no cameras in the bathroom. Okay. That's it for bathroom policies. Guideline 2 is use the designated ones. Guideline 3 is only a woman can help in a bathroom situation. So it's really helpful. What's really cool about how our team is building out, we have a lot of men helping out. This is like unprecedented, like according to Lori, just in kids ministry for like 20 years at BC. So I try to, for guys, I try to have a female helper with you, so that way the helper can take the kids to the bathroom. Because if something happens and you actually they're throwing up violently in the bathroom, right? Or you hear that you hear something being like flushed over and over and over again, like everything okay? I need help, right? Okay, woman's gonna bandage her. Female can just poke her head, everything okay? Grab Zach or Lori if needed, and most of the time it's Lori. It sucks for her, but especially with diaper situations. I'm like, sorry, Lori, you get to change diapers. I don't. I do all. Okay, part 3. These are just some practical. There's a couple practical things as far as like how to grow in the skill of being a pastoral presence to your kids, and just some things that are like, as a church, here's how you're going to partner with the church in that endeavor to pastor these kids and families. The first one is, I'm going to just fly through them, but I'll probably park on a couple of seconds, and then we'll get you out of here. Most important 30 seconds. That's what I call it. So 30 seconds when the child's dropped off and picked up. It's It's your moment with the parent or the home leader, okay? Really, really important. That interaction is probably going to tell you a lot more about what's happening in the life of the kid than an hour and a half of the kid talking to you about their dog, okay? Is mom and dad worn down? They got a lot going on. Did they just happen to drop a bomb that grandma died? You know, this is going to tell you things that are like, okay, for the next hour and a half, I need to expect that Jimmy just had a grandma who died. Maybe I can look for a window. Maybe the Lord will help me. But that just happened. And then, of course, on your roster, Steve's really good about doing this. On your roster, you just write a note. I look at the rosters every week when I clean out, prep for the next one. Just make a note. Susie's grandma passed, or something pastoral happened. If it's something really urgent, pastoral need, like that you pick up in those 30 seconds before or after, let us know immediately. And we're just a blessed church. We've got lots of resources for individual healing, family healing. So the faster we can get to that trauma as a community. It's kind of like the immune system. Like we've got all these antibodies ready to go, you know, but we just need to know where to hit. So you can make a real difference in the life of a family just by letting us know something. Okay, that covers the first 2 sections. All right, I'm gonna pass the 5 helpful tips and the VOW about and go to engaging elementary age kids. So I'm gonna zoom through that and then revisit the 2 that we're missing. Okay, engaging elementary age kids. It's a really helpful book. I don't expect you guys to be like have a PhD in child development and things like that. So to know like at what maturity level is someone going from cognitive thinking to abstract thinking, right? You don't need to know that, right? So what I did is I took some snippets from this. This is just easy to read, digestible things. And based off the age group you guys are going to be serving, put some nuggets in there just to help you get an idea of like, what do the kids need in this stage of life? What's the type of question they're asking? And it's general, right? Pastoral, you're going to come in and get the details. This kind of just helps you. What are they asking at this stage? It gets you in the shoes of the children a little bit. So I encourage you at some point before you serve the next time, read through that, picture some of the kids who you've worked with, and say, they do ask that question all the time. That makes sense. That's normal for my 4th graders to be more invested in making friends in class than in exploring the lesson. Because that's all they want to do at that age, just make friends and be very good. So it just helps you, permissions you to be okay, because that's just how God made us. All right? Made us. Okay. 5 helpful tips for crew leaders. This book right here. It's an idea called Lead Small. It's by a publishing company called Orange, and their whole heart is look at Jesus, what he did. He could have came in any way to change the world, right? He could have like broadcast the gospel through airwaves like we do today. But instead he decided, I'm going to come, I'm going to hang out with 12, and those 12 are going to hang out with 12. Those 12 are going to change the world. So the concept is you actually make a much bigger difference in the scheme of history in the world by really going deep with a few people than spending a lot of time in going broad with a lot. So how can you lead small well when you're in your crews? Here are 5 tips. And on my notes, does your notes say 6 through 10 on yours? Copy 6 through 10. Yeah. I'm just gonna go through them. There's 5 of them. Be present. All right. Practically, what this looks like for you guys is just put your phone away. Your body tells a lot to a kid. Kids have to pay a lot more attention to you than you to kids because there's a power dynamic, right? Kids know how to get what they need because they pay attention to who meets those needs, okay? So they know when you're not being present, when you're turned off, and they're gonna take advantage of that, right? So just be present. It looks like putting your phone away, turning on silent, getting down to the level when you're talking with them, sitting with them, engaging with them, be present. You're connecting, I like the language this book uses. By being present, you're actually connecting their faith, right, their journey with Jesus, to a people group, to a community, to people they can trust. Next thing is create a safe place. Right, so safe places, mostly it's in the way you talk to kids. I mean, there is the safety. We're doing a great job at creating safe places. But do you shut them down, or are you open to what they're talking about? Do they feel belittled by you, or are you imagining with them, right? Were you here for that prayer? Lucy was whispering something in my ear, right? And it was inappropriate for her to say it to class. She was like, I want her to tell me all this stuff. I want to make sure she feels safe, and everyone feels safe in this moment. How do I do that? It takes discretion, it takes wisdom, it takes being present, it takes listening. It's okay not to answer immediately, right? When you're creating a safe place. Nod your head. I call this the Matt Olson technique. He taught me this. Is if you got a drink or something, you just take a drink of water. That's a really good question. You're buying time, right? That's all you're doing. Lord, help me. I want to give a really safe response to this kid. What do I need to do? And sometimes it's just like, oh, that's really scary. That's really hard. Oh, that's a really fun idea. Maybe you don't actually believe that, but the kids now feel safe to talk about their ridiculous ideas with you, right? Okay. Partner with parents. I feel like we spent a good amount of time with that. Remember, we get 40 hours, and if you're only doing 1 week, you get 10 hours a year. With some kids, parents get 3,000. Make it personal. Again, they're watching you. They're gonna learn more about what it means to be a follower of Jesus by how Christina's a follower of Jesus versus what I would tell someone's a follower of Jesus, right? So they're gonna be picking up on the way you relate to people, how you stop and you're prayerful, how when something happens, instead of getting really anxious, they're just paying attention to that. So you get a model life with Jesus more than teaching. There's a what's it called? It's more caught than taught. So I think it's true. It's a good accent. And move them out. It's really, really important that these kids are all on a journey with Jesus, and they're going to move out of BC Kids eventually. So especially if you're working with 4th grade, you really want to look for time to build them up into their next season as well. Build excitement. So if you're dealing with 4th graders, you know they're going to jump into Fusion 56. You really want to champion that, right? You don't want to if there's any sense that BC Kids is better than Fusion, right? You want to, just kidding. I love Fusion. I think we're all doing the same things, good things. What? Exactly. So you got a 4th grader like, oh, I'm going to miss BC Kids so much. Crew helpers, they're going to be your gym. Fusion is the best. We sing Happy Birthday, even more ridiculous. Like Aaron Pecky. And so you want them to be excited about the journey God has them in every season, right? So, okay. Next one is BOW, for having spiritual conversations with kids. I like this acronym. I stole it from a podcast. And from the podcast.
What's the acronym again?
BOW, B-O-W.
It did sound like a vowel.
You can fill it. You can add EL to it if you want to. Okay.
What does that mean?
Laugh.
So the lady who, I'm actually reading through this resource now to see if it'd be helpful for families, but she's really skilled and she works in an environment where families are coming out of trauma and homelessness, and she gets to be a spiritual director for kids, which sounds like the most awesome job ever. Not a counselor, but literally, where's God at in your life? So she has this acronym that's really helpful. BOW, body, openness, and wonder. So body, right? So when you're having a conversation with a kid, what's your body communicating to them, right? Are you down? Or Ben, come on up here.
Yep, man.
I'm picking like the tallest over here. Okay. Come over here, Ben. All right, so get on your knees real quick. You're going to be sharp for a second. Okay, come and talk to me real quick.
Hi.
How did it go? Hey, good to see you. Yeah. Right. Versus, right, like, what if I get down to Ben's level? Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. If your knees allow it, right? But especially if it's like they're talking about something really hard. It's okay to put a That's your body is communicating a lot more than your words, right? But if I could be saying the same exact thing, standing up and at a distance with my arms out, and he's not gonna hear anything I'm saying, right? Right? He's heard, like, yeah, that sucks, bro. Yeah, that's really hard. You see the difference? This is fine. Okay. So you're opening up. I like her language. You're physically adjusting your whole body, which I think sets the metaphor for the next one. Openness is now you're internally adjusting inside world, right? So your body's adjusting to be at the child level. Openness, now your interior world's adjusting to be at the child level, okay? Which sets the stage for wonder, right? I love the word wonder, right? Kid comes up, I have an idea. Oh, I wonder what that means. Just wonder with the kids. I mean, most of the time the kids are they going to get the Bible lesson and Bible story memorized? Probably not, right? Like, those are wins if we get it. But what's really going to make an impact in the lives of these children is when they're 22 and they're in a really hard world and they remember, where do I go to feel safe and loved? Oh, the body of Christ. I remember Bethany, my leader, she always listened to me. I need somebody to listen to me. They're going to remember that experience more than the content of our conversations. That kind of makes sense. So wonder with them, dream with them, talk about ridiculous spider ninja warrior cats, you know?
Spider ninja.
What?
Taking over Pluto, which is still a planet in my opinion, but the kid doesn't believe it's a planet. I wonder why they took Pluto away from me, you know?
Stop
See?
Plutoing around
Dwarf
though.
planet.
The planet none of that.
It is a
It's a
planet.
frozen rock.
Kids love, yeah, so they know.
It's a nice cue.
They know that you're paying attention and cues to help you intentionally pay attention. What are you doing with your body? Are you physically present, but your brain's somewhere else? Are you trying to fix them in the moment? That's not present, right? Do you have assumptions? Like if there's a really good example is when we have kids whose family members are hurting, are in pain, or sick, we're a community that believes in healing, right? And whatever our belief system on healing, why it happens, why it doesn't happen, if you have a kid who's talking about their mom being sick for a long time, and you're thinking your theology of healing and not really present with them, then they're gonna pick up the distance. You're not sincere, not authentic, right? But you can sympathize with what they're feeling. I wonder if we ask God what God could be saying right now. Have you ever asked God about this? I wonder what we can do. No, I don't think I've ever asked God. Well, let's do this today. And so when we have prayer time at the end with our whole crew, can we pray about this? Are you comfortable with